So, let's talk about someone you've probably never heard of, an 8th century church leader whose intellectual battles over art and theology, well, they still shape the faith of billions today. This is the story of Germanus of Constantinople.
Okay, picture this. The year is 730. We're in Constantinople, the very heart of the Byzantine Empire. And there's this old man, he's nearly 90 years old, standing before the most powerful man in the world, Emperor Leo III. And he says these words of pure defiance. And he's not a general or some politician. He's the patriarch, the city's spiritual leader, and he is about to lose absolutely everything over a matter of principle.
And that really is the central question here, isn't it? Why would anyone risk their life, their position, their legacy, all for the sake of paintings and mosaics? To get that, to really understand his courage, we have to understand the man himself and the absolutely brutal events that made him who he was.
You see, Germanus didn't start out as some humble cleric. His life began at the very top of society, but a vicious political move sent his entire world crashing down.
I mean, just look at this timeline. The brutality of his early life it's just shocking. His father, a top official, is executed in a political purge. And then, to make sure the family line is completely wiped out, the new emperor orders Germanus to be castrated. It was a cruel act designed to destroy any hope of a future of ambition. He's then forced into the clergy. But what was meant to be a punishment, a way to sideline him forever, actually put him on a path to become one of the most influential thinkers of his entire generation. For almost 50 years, he just served, rising through the ranks until, against all odds, he was elected patriarch.
And it's from that position, that seat of power, that Germanus faces his greatest test, a new imperial policy called iconoclasm, literally the smashing of images. Emperor Leo III, maybe he was influenced by what he saw in Islam and Judaism regarding idolatry, basically declared war on all religious art.
And this slide really gets to the heart of the whole debate. The iconoclasts, the image smashers, they had a pretty simple argument, right? It came straight from the Old Testament. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image. To them, an icon was an idol, plain and simple. But Germanus had this profound counterargument. He actually agreed you can't depict the invisible God, but he said everything, and I mean everything, changed when Jesus was born.
Okay, so here's how Germanus broke it down, and it's pretty brilliant, actually. Step 1, an invisible God can't be painted. Check, the Old Testament is right about that. Step 2, but in Jesus, God took on a physical, visible human body. You can paint what you can see. Step 3, because of that, we can depict the human face of Jesus and of Mary and the saints as a way to remember them and teach their stories. And step 4, this is the kicker, the respect you show an image isn't for the wood and the paint. It passes through to the person it represents. It's like a signpost, not the destination itself.
But, his defense of icons, that was just one of his major contributions. Germanus also fundamentally changed how countless Christians see Mary, the mother of Jesus, who he called the Theotokos, or the God-bearer.
So here's a question that's probably puzzled a lot of people. You know those stories we all kind of know about Mary's parents, Joachim and Anna, or her being presented in the temple when she was just a little girl? Well, none of that is actually in the New Testament. So where did it all come from? The answer lies in these popular stories that have been floating around for centuries.
These stories come from texts we now call the Apocrypha. And what are they? Well, you can think of them as kind of like the expanded universe of early Christianity. They weren't considered divinely inspired scripture, but boy, were they popular. Why? Because they filled in all the narrative gaps the Gospels left open, satisfying people's natural curiosity about the Holy Family's backstory.
And Germanus, he drew heavily on these traditions. The names of Mary's parents, the story of their struggle with infertility, her dedication at the temple, and the belief in her peaceful death, the Dormition, and then her assumption into heaven. These were all really vibrant narratives from apocryphal works like the Proto-Evangelium of James.
But here's the really crucial part. Germanus wasn't just retelling folktales. He took these popular stories and used them as raw material to build a really powerful theology. His argument was, look, if Mary was chosen to be the Theotokos, the one to bear God in her womb, then she had to be unique. This implied she was preserved from sin and that her body, which had literally housed the divine, could not decay. And just like that, he elevated popular piety into profound theological doctrine. So, you'd think with these brilliant arguments for both icons and for Mary's role in salvation, that Germanus would have won the battle in his own lifetime, right? Well, he didn't. The emperor, as they say, had the final say.
This table, it just says it all, doesn't it? After that throw me into the sea speech, Germanus was thrown out. He was deposed, sent into exile, and he died a defeated man. The emperor ordered his writings to be burned. His ideas were officially called heresy. But history wasn't done with him. Decades later, his arguments were rediscovered, they were championed, and ultimately they became the official position. At the Second Council of Nicaea in 787, the Church officially restored the veneration of icons using the exact logic Germanus had laid out. The man who died a heretic was now celebrated as a saint.
So in the end, the ideas of this one man, forged in trauma and defiance, became foundational for the two largest branches of Christianity. His defense of icons is still absolutely central to the Eastern Orthodox Church, and his theology of Mary, the Theotokos, profoundly shaped the doctrines of the Roman Catholic Church, which was citing his work over 1,200 years later.
The story of Germanus kind of leaves us with this big question, right? When we look at any religious tradition, how much of it is built not just on ancient texts, but on the intellectual and moral courage of individuals, people who, at a crucial moment in history, simply refuse to back down? That's a thought worth pondering.